This is a plan of Dover Harbour by Vincenzo Volpi. Lying almost at England's closest point to France, across the English Channel, Dover was long a key target for any invading force. In the 1530s, concerns began to grow about its defence, and this 1532 watercolour represents one of a series of schemes to improve the town's harbours and fortifications at a time when England's Tudor monarchs were beginning to harness the power of cartography to improve their knowledge and administration of their realm. Maps, which had long been the province of scholars or local administrators, came increasingly to the attention of the court from the 1520s as a means of understanding the topography of the provinces and to defend and tax them more efficiently. The resulting plan is clearly more the work of an artist than a surveyor, evoking the town and the surrounding landscape more powerfully than it lays out the precise details of the new defences. So let's have a look at the bigger plan. So here we can see the harbour and the town on either side, castle at the top of the hill. The sky. This will be the wall of the town. Goes along here and across, all the way up to the castle. Right, let's go forward. Oh, now this is a more modern plan. This is 1799, Georgian Britain. This is a plan for London docks. The pink tinted area on this 1799 plan designated the proposed area for a new set of docks in East London. So you can see the pink area here, marking the start of a golden era in the city's career as an international trading port. Until their closure in 1969, London docks would act as a prime conduit for the funneling of goods into Britain from all over the world. London had been at the heart of the nation's commerce since Roman times, as long ago as AD 61. Tacitus commented on the throng of merchants that visited it, for the topography of the river and the man-made choke point of London Bridge, which since 1209 had impeded the navigation of large vessels upriver, bequeathed it an enormous problem. No matter that in 1327 Edward III may have permitted foreign merchants to enter England in their own ships, or that the East India Company's foundation in 1600 brought a new surge of trade in luxury spices such as cloves and nutmeg, there was simply nowhere for all these ships with all their goods to berth. As a result, apart from the wet dock built at Rotherhithe in 1696, the unloading of wares at London depended on a vast fleet of lighters and other small vessels. Queues built up, shortages arose, and the backlog of goods mouldering on ships and piled high on wharves was subject to pilfering on an almost industrial scale. suburb, in a stark difference to the dense chaos of London's traditional street pattern or the monolithic grids of late Victorian suburban speculators. It was one of a wave of new suburbs and garden cities which sought to express philanthropists' hopes for a better life for urban workers through improved housing conditions and a more livable expedition he urged Henry to launch. That invasion never came, or at least not for nearly a century, until Henry VIII crossed the border in 1544. But it was not an outlandish prospect. Ever since Edward I had secured the fealty of 2,000 Scottish noblemen, recognising him as King of Scotland in 1296, successive English monarchs had turned their eyes northwards in the hope of absorbing Scotland once and for all. So let's have a look on the other side and we can see a larger map. Wow, look at that. It's so colourful. So it's almost surrounded completely by water. And there are many, many castles of all shapes and sizes. I think I can spot Edinburgh here. Dalkeith. And let's see. It's a little difficult to read some of the text. Amazing. So let's go much, much further forward in time. And here we go. So this is circa 1940, the Second World War. British natural resources. The map lays out Britain's agricultural, mineral and industrial resources, giving a colourful impression of a prosperous and self-reliant nation. Yet it conceals a difficult truth. For at the time of its production in the early 1940s, Britain was engaged in a life and death struggle to guarantee the importation of the strategic resources to enable it to continue the war against Germany. Just as